Hey community, in today's episode, Kristian Stanfill from Passion sits down with Matt McCoy. They talk about how he got started in worship leading, how he got started with Passion. He gives tips for worship leaders and songwriters. It's an awesome interview. We hope you enjoy it. Be sure to check out his latest solo album that they'll talk about in the interview as well. And you can get all of the master tracks on loopcommunity.com.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Loop Live. My name is Matt McCoy. I'm the founder of loopcommunity.com, and I'm the host of the Loop Live show. And today we have a very special guest. We've got Kristian Stanfill. He's a worship leader, songwriter from Passion City Church. You've heard definitely his songs, Jesus Paid It All, One Thing Remains. He has a new album out, Make It Out Alive. We're going to talk about that. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this conversation. So what are we waiting for? Let's go and dive in. Let's bring in Kristian Stanfill. What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Man, good to see you.
It's good to be here, man.
I'm so glad to have you on here. Thanks for taking the time. I was thinking about my early just introduction to you and who you are. And I was a worship leader at Willow Creek. I'm trying to remember the first time I ever heard your name. I was leading worship at Willow Creek. I was on staff there for a couple of years. It was 2007, maybe 2008. And I remember we were preparing for this big baptism service, and we were in this creative meeting talking about like what songs, can we do for this baptism service? And someone was like, have you guys heard this new song called Jesus Paid It All? Kristian Stanfill? We're like, no. And they played it in the room, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is insane. That bridge, oh, praise the one. And I ended up playing that song, I think, at least twice a month for the next 5 years. Like, you basically were in our set list like forever, for like the next 5 years. I actually really want to bring that song back because that is just a killer song.
Yeah, man, it's funny you bring that song up. The guy who wrote that bridge is a good friend of mine, Alex Nifong. And we were really close when he wrote it. And we brought it to 722, which was a Bible study in Atlanta back in the day. But that song, it's funny you bring that song up because it's like it's circling back. I'm talking to more people about that song again, and Alex and I have reconnected and rekindled our friendship. And so maybe it's time, man. Maybe I just need to pay attention to that wind that's blowing. Maybe God is bringing that song. Certainly that song. Yeah, well, it served the church for a long time, and it's such a powerful song.
Really powerful. I remember watching 722 online. They were like the first worship live stream that was like ever happening anywhere. No one was live streaming worship before 722. That was pretty wild. Those were cool days too. And then I remember being at Passion 2012, and I was standing in the back, and you were leading worship. I think you were doing like One Thing Remains and some other song. I can't remember what other songs you were doing there. But it seemed like a big like passion moment for you. But I just remember I was standing back in the back by the soundboard next to Jason Ingram, and Jason, I remember we were kind of just like, man, this guy is like he's so good, like this is amazing. And I remember Jason just being like, oh man, his parents are so proud of him. And
wow.
I don't know if your parents were there or like standing in front of us. I don't even know. But I just remember him saying that to me. And just being like, man, this is just so cool to like kind of watch. Like, I think it was cool for Jason to watch your journey, then in that stadium there. So tell us about how you started leading worship, and how did you get started with Passion?
Well, I started leading worship when I was in middle school. It turns out this is the story of a lot of different worship leaders, but our middle school ministry needed a worship leader to lead some songs, and word got around that I had a guitar and I was trying to figure out how to sing, and more or less I got pushed out on stage against my will. I think I told the guy who asked me no probably 2 or 3 times before he finally was like, look, man, I'm not asking anymore. I need you to do this.
Yeah.
And that, a lot of trial and error, of course, but we saw God do some really special stuff in our youth ministry all through high school. And I just thought, man, God, if you let me be a part of this, helping people connect to you through these songs, then I want to be a part of it. And so led all through college. I met Louis at a student summer camp that he was speaking. He was one of the speakers at the camp, and I was one of the worship leaders. And we met and started talking. And Louis, he was like, "Man, I love you. I want to be your friend. I just believe in what you're doing." And it really just started off as a friendship.
Yeah.
And then he asked if I would come be a part of Passion 2005 in Nashville as a leading worship for a community group, kind of a smaller group off the big gathering in the arena. And I've been a part of it ever since. And fell in love with the family of people here, fell in love with what God is doing at Passion. And to be honest, I'm still a part of it with a lot of the same people. So, however many years later, 17 years later, here we all are still doing it, and still have amazing stories to tell.
So are you on staff at the church? I guess the reason I ask that is, like, does your week look like a typical, like, worship leader at a church, kind of the scheduling and putting bands together and picking songs? And
it did look like that for a while. For about 7 years, I was the day-to-day worship pastor here at Passion City, leading our team, rostering bands, connecting with worship leaders. And I did that for a while. I think at heart, I'm a creative person. I'm an artist. And I think the way that I serve our church and our house and our team the best is when I'm creative and I'm writing, and I have some space to do that. And so now our day-to-day worship pastor is a guy named Jeff Johnson, who is doing an amazing job leading our team, rostering bands and doing all that. And I support him. I want to be an encouragement to him, hold up his vision. I'm still leading almost every Sunday here. I'm still connecting with young worship leaders here, but I have a lot more space to dream and write and be creative. And that's really, it's helped me and my family out with our rhythm of life, but I think it's also served our team the best. But as far as like a weekly schedule, we have stuff throughout the week that I'm a part of. But I spend a lot of time writing and connecting with other guys here on our team.
Are you traveling to write, or do you do like virtual writes? Like what does songwriting typically look like for you?
I do travel some. We go to Nashville a good bit to write. We have a lot of writers, friends. We have writing camps throughout the year where we'll bring a large group of writers to our church here in Atlanta, and we'll write for Passion and for Passion City Church. I do a lot of writing on my own. A lot of like the genesis of a lot of ideas tend to happen when I'm alone and I have time to process what God's doing in my life, my family's life, our community, church, what I'm learning through Scripture, other books that I'm reading. When I have enough space to process those things and write down lyrics or capture little voice memos, that tends to be where a lot of the genesis of songs come. So, but I haven't had a lot of success with the virtual thing, man. To be honest, songwriting is such a relational thing. And I love being in the room with other people and tag teaming, the process. And so I have done some virtual writing and I have finished songs virtually. But at the end of it, I was like, I think I would have rather just been in the room with that person.
Because you kind of write off the energy of each other. You write off the energy off each other, and there's not the delay in Zoom or
right. Weird. So I do like to be face to face with people.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm the same way in that, like, I think I write better, or at least all of it starts alone. And I prefer to kind of start writing alone and then bring in some other like great minds or like get in the room with people to make it better. Is there a time of day that you reserve for songwriting?
Usually in the morning. So once it gets past lunchtime, I've learned that my output, my creative output tends to drop. So my kids go to school around 7:15, 7:20 in the morning. And then from about then to lunchtime, I'll do some reading. I might go on a run and just create space to free myself from technology or any other distraction. Just receive, just open my hands and receive. Sometimes I'm literally just journaling, or I'm just jotting down ideas, or sometimes I'll sit at the piano or grab a guitar. But I just try to make space for things to flow through. Just be available to the ideas, be available to the melodies and the lyrics. And I just find that the more that I do that and create that space, the more the ideas tend to flow through.
And is that typically just about every weekday, Monday through Friday?
Not every weekday, but most. I'm creating time to, I'm creating time to write and create on most days.
Yeah.
Some days it looks different. Like we've just, like you mentioned, I released Make It Out Alive, a solo artist project in November. We just had Passion 2023 happen. There was a lot of creative output happening for both of those projects. Yeah. And so I feel like right now I'm in more of a time where I have my eyes open, I have my hands open, and I'm just observing, and I'm just taking in, I'm writing down a lot of ideas. I'm capturing a little bit of melody stuff, but I'm not trying to finish anything right now. I'm just observing and collecting ideas. And then eventually, like, it's February now, I'd say probably in the March, April, those will start to take more of a cohesive shape and become a song.
Yeah, the reason I'm kind of drilling into that topic is just that I think that a lot of people who are listening to this, they want to maybe write, they want to be creative, but no one's carving out the time. Like, it really does take intentionality to carve out the time to make it happen, to literally, I love that you said you kind of separate from technology a little bit, turn your phone off and also maybe use the best hours of your day to do it, like do the mindless tasks in the afternoon, the emails, the calendar kind of items. But in the morning is when your brain is like fresh and, full of ideas, has the most energy.
Yes.
Use that for that. And I just think it's important for people to hear that it does take intentionality.
It does. I was talking to another songwriter about it one time, and just talking about it like stoking a fire or fueling a fire. Like you keep feeding the fire. Sometimes it's not like, blazing out of control, but you just always want to be feeding that fire and keep the embers hot. So whenever it comes time to write that song, or you get in a room with people, that you've already stoked that creative fire. There's something already in the furnace that's going, and you can bring something to the table. So it's important for me. I've learned to give myself a break. I used to beat myself up and go, I didn't write anything today, or I didn't finish something today, or I'm not happy with what came out today. But what I've learned is all of that leads to something. It all comes out one way or another. And so it's just you keep showing up, keep writing, write 100 bad songs. You're going to write a lot of bad songs that nobody's going to hear, but then 2 or 3 will come out that could really touch somebody.
Yeah. What, just kind of with the whole work from home and like virtual environment, like, do you typically write at home, or do you go to the church and write, or is there another space you're going to write?
I do a little bit of both. So the church is awesome because we have a studio here, we have a piano, we have guitars. It's easy to come here and write. Inevitably, though, if I'm here, I'll get scooped into another activity or another meeting, or I'll run into somebody and we'll start talking, and then an hour's gone by. If I can be at home, I have a little space at home where I can tuck away. When my kids are at school and my wife is home, but she also works. She does real estate here in Atlanta, so there are times where the house is quiet. So I do a little bit of both. Last year, I would go on these long walks or runs, and I would, put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And it just sounds crazy, but a lot of songs would like download as I was walking or just processing or praying. And so I think it can happen in any number of ways in different places. But to answer your question, I do at church and at home.
Yeah. I kind of was curious because it was from my experience having kids like upstairs. I mean, it's nice that your kids are at school. I've got like all young little kids, like 2 years old, 4-year-old, and I hear them upstairs. I even hear them right now, like running around, like banging stuff against the walls. And I'm like, I can't even write with that kind of like stuff going on, because I feel like I need to be up there to make sure that like they're not burning the house down.
Yeah. Yeah, once they get home around 4 o'clock, the clock is up. I'm done.
Yeah.
There's no, because I want to be with them as a dad. I want to be with them, and they're coming to find me. And so, yeah.
I know. Well, so let's talk about your new album. You did a solo album called Make It Out Alive, released in November, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So first of all, what inspired you to even release a solo album? Because had you done that before? Well, I guess you had done like worship stuff before, but maybe not.
It was
like
worship,
kind of devotion. What would you call this? Like devotional music? Or?
Yeah, devotional, singer, songwriter, storyteller.
Yeah.
I would put it more in that camp. I'd had 2 other artist records come out with 6 steps, but you're right. They were more worship. Something that probably people would expect, worship leader type stuff.
So tell us about this album and like what inspired it, or is there a background story to it?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to condense it down, but, 2020 just sidelined all of us. We had a lot of plans. I know everybody's tired of talking about 2020, but it actually plays a big role in how this record happened. We had a full schedule of stuff that we were ready to do in 2020. It all went away, got canceled. And that just forced me to be home, be still, be silent, which is something that I hadn't done in a long time. And I started looking in the mirror and taking an honest look at my life and just realizing that there were some things going on in my life behaviorally, rhythms of life, ways of thinking that were just really unhealthy. And after years of going unchecked, they had grown into something that was just not okay and not good, some addictive behavior that I needed to address. And so it was time to deal with it. So my wife, my closest friends here in Atlanta, Louie and Shelley, were a big part of the process. Counselors got involved. I just started like digging up all of this stuff and realizing that like the topical issue really wasn't the issue. That was like a symptom of something that was like much deeper. Yeah. And so I started this process of like excavating and digging up all of the junk and finally looking at it for what it actually is. And that's hard work, man. I don't know if you've done that kind of work or if people listening have done that kind of work, but like, it's not easy. It's exhausting. Yeah. I would get done with a day. I went to this like counseling intensive in Tennessee for a while, and I would get to the end of the day, and I literally would have felt like I had run a marathon. Like my body was exhausted, my mind was exhausted. I had no more tears to cry. I mean, it was just. Yeah. But through that process, I started to come back up to the surface, and my heart started to sensitize again to good things and God's voice, and I was becoming, like flesh again. And through that process, getting healthy and getting whole, I started to write these songs, and they were more like journal entries than anything else. They were more conversations with God or conversations with my soul. And the honest truth is that I didn't think that I would share the songs like with anybody. I've written songs like this before, and they were just more like therapeutic, like just like this was really good for me to process. But what I started to figure out is that people who are struggling with some of the same stuff I was struggling with, or just because life is hard, we feel like we're alone in all of it. And that would break my heart, because that's how I felt for a long time. I can't talk to anybody about what's really going on, because if I do, people will think I'm a freak. Yeah. But the truth is that we all carry brokenness. We all struggle with something in life. And people are just waiting for someone to be real about it and go, I'm hurting, I'm broken, I'm struggling. So I thought I started to pray about it. I started to talk to some people about it, wise people about it. And process with our team here in Atlanta and go, I think I want to put these songs on a record. And so that's what Make It Out Alive is. It's these very honest, very raw, almost confessional sometimes, these songs of just processing my journey of recovery and getting healthy. And the whole goal of it, man, was like just to start a conversation and go like, hey, like it's okay if you're not okay. But like, that's not the end of the story. Like God wants to work in this process of brokenness and healing. I know it's hard, but he wants to use it to make you more like Jesus and bring you back up into the purpose that he created you for. And bro, it has been that. I've had so many conversations on Instagram or just, bro, like walking through Starbucks or walking through the halls of our church, people stopping me and going, dude, I'm struggling with this, or I'm, this many years sober from this, or it's just been wild, dude. Like as soon as you open that door, you realize how close this community is all around you. So I've been so happy about it, man. And I do want to say, like, our team here has just been phenomenal, and just saying, let's go for it. I think this could really help people. So that's Make It Out Alive. Yeah, it came out in November. And
isn't it amazing just what a little bit of vulnerability will do to relationships? And when people are just open, because that's what happened with this album, is these were like personal songs, journal entries, really, prayers.
Yeah.
And you were vulnerable with it, though, in that you shared it with everybody. And then people are like, that's me. I also feel that way. And it also, I think it makes people feel, like they're not alone. They're not crazy. So first of all, I want to ask a question. Does the sentence or the phrase "trust the process" mean anything to you?
Yes.
So I say that because you and I went to the same place. And,
okay, great. Yeah.
And I had a lot of the same kind of experience, and 2020 did wreck a lot of people, and we're just exposed a lot of, I think, brokenness that we already had. And I'll say that when I went to that place in Tennessee as well, what was so healing for me was to see all these other people, and like I was healing from their healing, and like seeing them, like them being vulnerable and them sharing their stories, and then them going and doing the work. And like it was healing to be around people who were being vulnerable. And so you can actually be the remedy for someone by just being real and sharing like what you're going through, which is what I love about what you did with this album.
Right.
Because
that's
just
exactly
by doing
right,
that,
bro,
it brings healing to other people. And
yes. I think that's why, you share your story with people, and then they start sharing their story. And it just reminds you, it's another reminder of the journey that we're all on.
Yeah.
And it reminds you that you're not alone. You're not walking alone. And I remember sitting in a circle with guys. The first night I got to this intensive, I was sitting in a circle with some guys, and they were saying stuff that I had thought it was out of bounds to say, like, for years. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't know you could like say that to somebody else. And I'm in the circle about 4 other guys. Some of these guys have become my best friends. Like, they're guys that I still keep up with.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking for the first time, like, maybe I'm not crazy. Like, maybe I'm not alone. Maybe this is like, there's a community of people who, So you're so right, man. And I really believe it's the way forward, man. I think, I really hope and pray that, that the days of playing church are over, but like we can actually be the church and be vulnerable and be real with each other and hold each other up in the high times and the low times. And
man, I love that. It's kind of cool to hear that you went to that intensive. Mm-hmm. That was a life-changing experience for me. And I really hope that everybody could experience something like that. And really what it was just people being really real and being able to talk about, you're right, the things that in church you'd be like, wait, we can't say that, or we can't talk about that. But it's something that just, it kind of levels the ground. So I appreciate you doing that. And I mean, we're here to talk about your album, but actually I was just going to say that during that time, I actually also wrote a collection of songs that were just my own personal prayers, vulnerability really as well. Like and I'm actually releasing them in a couple of weeks, and I didn't know if I was going to. But I'm going to. So,
that's awesome, dude. Way to go. Yeah, when does it come out? What's it called?
It's called Spirit Songs, and
beautiful.
Comes out February 24th. And they're just the songs from my spirit. Like, these are my prayers to God.
Yeah.
Not worship songs.
Bro, we need more of that. I think I'll just speak for me. I put so much pressure on releasing music or releasing songs. And what we need more of is just going, this is what God is breathing through me right now. And I'm just going to put it out. And, it may not win a bunch of awards. I may not be on the red carpet at the Grammys, but somebody is going to get touched by this.
Yeah. Somebody,
just take the pressure off it, man. Just go, this is what it is today. Next year, I might have a different collection of songs. And that's great too.
And you have to I know. And that's kind of a scary thing. I'm sure there's probably lines on this record that you were like, oh man, I don't know if I can say that, or if I can actually put that out there.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about, there's a line in one of my songs that says, I sing these songs of faith because I know they're true, but honestly, there's days I still doubt them.
Yeah.
Doubt them too. And I'm like, I don't know if I should say, if I should say that, but I feel like it's just, it's real, man.
It is. That's great, man.
Tell us about, is there, just to close this up, is there a specific song on Make It Out Alive that you would love, for a worship leader listening to it right now? Something that really means a lot to you that you're like, I really want people to listen to this one. If they were to listen to one.
Yeah. Well, I think the title track is probably, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to the process. That song, I think, represents, parenthetically, I think it represents the whole project. And, the whole idea in the song, Make It Out Alive, is that, our tendency when we face up against something that seems impossible, or when the bottom falls out, or when we hit rock bottom, we want to hit the eject button and run from it. Or we just want it to be over as soon as possible, which I get that it's hard, but I've come to find out that God wants to bring us through it step by step, one day at a time. And that is hard work. We want to run and hide. We would rather not fight, but in the perseverance, right? This is in Scripture, in James. It's in the perseverance that produces something good, produces something godly. So when things get hard, we persevere in it. We take one step at a time with Jesus and with other people. And before we know it, and man, I've lived this, you look up one day and you go, I'm not where I was a year ago, 2 years ago. Right. I made it out alive. I'm here, and my head is clear. My eyes are clear. The light is shining on my family, my life again. And so that song in particular is just one that I really want to encourage people who find themselves in a really tough spot to go, lean into it, do the work. This time you curse it. I think you get there and you go, I don't want to be going through this, but it ends up being the greatest gift that God could give to us, is that humbling, that discipline, because it produces something in us it's really beautiful. So I think my encouragement would be, just lean into it. It's the whole bridge of the song, is step into the furnace, let the fire serve its purpose. It hurts, man. It hurts so bad, but it's refining. That song means a lot to me.
It's so good, man. Well, I would encourage everybody to go check that out, listen to that. So my final question for you is, if you could go back and tell a young version of yourself, think back to Kristian Stanfill, 2006, the Jesus paid it all days, even maybe even a little bit before that.
Yeah.
Or you're sitting down for coffee with a new young worship leader. What's some advice that you'd give yourself for the road ahead? What would you say?
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is I would say, you can't do this alone. I think that would be what I would tell somebody. You're going to need people. I have in my life, I've got 2 guys that I am just brutally honest with, oddly specific about everything going on in my life. And if I didn't have those guys, I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't be in my right mind, and things would get squirrely real fast. They did get squirrely. Mm-hmm. So I think for a long time, I thought that I could do it on my own, or I thought I had to in my own strength. I had to figure it all out on my own. But what I've learned, especially over the last few years, is that we weren't meant to live this life alone. We weren't meant to lead alone. Community and family is everything. So I would say find your people, man. Find people that you trust and that you can open your life up to. Not like generally like, but like people that you can be really specific with. So I think that's what I would say is you can't do it alone.
Isn't it interesting too that I was thinking about my experience in Tennessee and that it was easier to do that with people you just didn't know, or the people that they didn't know who you were and they didn't know where you were from, and you probably maybe would never see them again. Although I'm still in touch with all those people, a lot of them still as well. But if we could somehow harness,
you have to create it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you have to create it. You have to instigate it. So like I'm not good at this part of things in life. So I've had to learn how to do this. But like you put it on the calendar. So like every Tuesday, like Tuesday is my connection day. So I have coffee with these two guys that are in my life, and man, we just put it all out on the table. I drive from that to another small group of guys who were being like kind of mentored by these two older men. It's like a group of these 4 or 5 guys were being mentored by these two older guys. And then I usually end up having lunch with somebody, connecting with somebody else on that day too. So that day is it's highly relational, but I do that on purpose. Then I have a phone call on a Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 1:30, I have a phone call with another guy that I'm in connection with. And we talk very honestly about life and our journey. So my point in saying all that is that you don't just like fall into it. Like you have to put some effort into it and go, what day of the week, what hour in the day am I going to connect with these people? And that's just how things work, man. That's just practically that's how things work. And then there's this cool feature on your phone that says repeat weekly. So just do it every week. Just do it every week. Yeah. So I agree with you. It's hard. But if you put those things into practice, they become habits. And after a while you look up and go, dude, I've been doing this now for 2 years. So anyway,
that's a good word, man. You have to be intentional with everything. All right. Yep. Brother, thank you so much, man. It was great to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to even share your heart with worship leaders. And
I love this, dude.
Good and helpful. This is going to be really helpful for a lot of people. So.
Thanks for asking all the good questions and being open to some honest conversation. This is great.
Yeah. I love it, man. All right. I'll see you later, man.
Much love.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right. See you soon. Bye.
All right, everybody. I really enjoyed that conversation with Kristian. Really thankful for him for just taking the time out to even make time and space for this. If you guys have not listened to his new album, make sure you go check it out. Make It Out Alive. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, probably wherever you get music. Listen to this album and these songs and the vulnerability in them. And I know that there's going to be things in these songs that you're going to relate to as a Christian, as a human being. And so I think that it'll really bless you. So anyways, make sure you hit the subscribe button to make sure you stay tuned for future Loop Live events. Until next time, have a great week. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt McCoy. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. Hey, it means so much to us when you let us know what you thought. Write down in the comments what you learned from this episode, anything else that you found encouraging from this episode. Glad you guys are listening to the podcast. Hope to provide to you a lot of helpful content as you lead worship. See you soon.